tapping that screen. Most definitely hit that like button if you are new, guys. Double tap the screen to hit the like button. Click the three dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. That's another way to hit that like button. Man, we got some things to go over, man. You know, we got Trump. You know, he hate when the Epstein files come up. Boy, he get all defensive. He do not like that. You know, he basically snapped, you know, on a CNN reporter for basically asking him questions regarding the Epstein files. He do not want to talk about that at all, guys. I'm just saying, Trump don't want to talk about it at all. And he most definitely let it be known. We got Kristi Noem, guys. They looking for her to get her job taken. They don't want her to work there. They say, man, she don't deserve that position. She most definitely spoke out of her own defense as well. You know, Congress is doing a probe into ICE handling of the Renee Good and Alex Pretty unalivings, man. It's a lot going on, man. Make sure you double tapping that screen, guys. Kash Patel done spoke out, you know, regarding the Epstein files. You know, it's a lot, man. It's all tied in together. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. We about to get to it, man. You know what I'm saying? As soon as we get that like button up, make sure you double tapping that screen. If you're on a mobile device, it's one way to hit the like button, or you can click the three dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. There's a lot going on in the news. What's up, Positive Vibes? How you doing? We about to get into it, man. You know, we're about to get into it. Hold on. You know what I'm saying? Let me straighten this up real quick. Oh, wow, what happened? Hold up. Let's get this right. Hold up, y'all. Thank you, Vaughn. All right. Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? We about to get into it. Hold on. Let me silence the music, man. All right, we're gonna start out with Trump, guys. You know, he didn't like it too much when a CNN reporter started asking him about these new batch of Epstein files that was released, guys. He let her have it. You know what I'm saying? He most definitely let her have it. Let's go. Make sure you double tapping that screen, guys. If you're on a mobile device, double tap that screen. That's one way to hit the like button, or click the three dots, hit that thumbs up. What's up, Money Mo? We in the building, man. This is Trump when asked about the Epstein files.
You talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and correspondence that he had with him. Did you read those new files that were published by the Department of Justice?
I didn't. I have a lot of things I'm doing. You know, a lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned two names. I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A lot of women who are survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions that came out. Some of them, entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent?
The fact that they thought they released too much. You know, I heard that, and you tell me something else. So, I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really. You know, now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against.
Trump said nothing came out about him. He in there over 1,000 times, but nothing came out about him. It was a conspiracy theory about him. Let's go.
Other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Trump says it's time to get on to something else.
What did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they have gotten
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think it has no ratings because of people like you.
He's like, you're the worst reporter. See?
I don't think I've ever seen one to see. CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile in your face. You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth.
Oh, wow.
And you're a very dishonest organization.
Oh, wow.
And they should be ashamed of you.
Trump on CNN.
Yes, but, you know, speaking of Epstein, I will say this. A reporter named Wolf and Epstein conspired This just came out yesterday. In the millions of pages of documents, how crazy this is, conspired against me in order to fight like hell to make sure I lose the election. That's the only thing that was mentioned about me. Now, about Democrats, some really bad stuff. But about me, that Wolf, whoever Wolf is, he wrote a book.
Trump say his stuff off in there wasn't really that bad. Shout out to Vunny for copying that membership. Trump say his involvement in the Epstein files and his latest dump wasn't really that bad. But Democrats, woo-wee.
Mentioned about me. Now, about Democrats, some really bad stuff. But about me, that Wolf, whoever Wolf is, he wrote a book, a couple of books, and Epstein conspired against me. Did you know that, Mr. Senator? Did you know that? They conspired against me, so I lose the election, or worse. So that takes care of Epstein as far as Trump is concerned. But you got a lot of Democrats out there that are very much involved with Epstein. But I'll be honest with you got to get back to running the country, too. Millions and millions every week. You know, when Epstein was alive, nobody cared about him. When he's dead, they care about him. But it's really a Democrat problem. It's not a Republican.
They only care because you and your team brought them up. Let's not forget there was something they asked you and you said you would do it. So once you said, hey, yeah, I'll release the Epstein files, then they start looking for you to release them. If you wouldn't have never said you were going to release them, they wouldn't be worried about it.
It's a Democrat problem. The only problem Republicans have is that we have to get back to, number one, running our country, and then number two, very importantly, letting the public know what a great job we're doing. We have the greatest economy in the history of the world. We have $18 trillion being spent. The record was $3 trillion many years ago, not by us, by another country. I won't say the country. Yeah, please.
So basically we got Trump saying, hey, man, y'all need to stop worrying about the Epstein files and focus on something else. You know, y'all putting too much time into the Epstein files. Y'all need to be worried about how much money I'm saving America and, you know, all the oil I'm getting. Well, it didn't stop there with Trump, guys. You know, we heard Bill Gates get brought up in the Epstein files. Guess what, guys? His wife spoke out about this whole entire situation. Check this out.
Melinda French Gates is speaking out after her ex-husband Bill Gates appeared in the newly released Epstein files.
For me, it's personally hard because brings back memories of some very, very painful times in my marriage.
The couple divorced back in 2021. Now Gates addressing the Epstein scandal with NPR's Rachel Martin.
Whatever questions remain there of what I can't even begin to know all of it, those questions are for those people and for even my ex-husband. They need to answer to those things, not me.
While Bill Gates has previously said his meetings with Epstein were a, quote, huge mistake, his mention in the newly released documents are fueling fresh scrutiny over the nature of their association.
And I hope there's some justice for those now women.
This Bill
Asked about
Gates
the new
ex-wife.
files, a spokesperson for Bill Gates called the latest allegations completely false and said the only thing these documents demonstrate is Epstein's frustration that he did not have an ongoing relationship with Gates. Meanwhile, new fallout for the now former Prince Andrew, whose connection to Epstein has been documented for years. Andrew appears in the newly released files in photos leaning over a young woman lying on the floor. Now, amid growing outrage in the UK, Andrew has moved out of the 31-room Royal Lodge earlier than expected. He's now living on his brother, King Charles' privately owned estate. British tabloids upping the pressure on the royal family. One headline reading, Charles must now face questions. Vice President J.D. Vance said he would support Andrew being called to testify before Congress.
I'll let them determine whether they should talk to Prince Andrew. I'd certainly be open to it, but it's their call, not mine.
At the White House yesterday, President Trump, who's mentioned hundreds of times in the newly released files, mostly in news articles, said this.
I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really. Now that
You want them to get on to something else?
About me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally by Epstein and other people.
Trump says he cut off all ties with Epstein many years ago. The depositions of Bill and Hillary Clinton for a House committee investigation into Epstein are now scheduled for February 26th and 27th.
But they will be closed. Don't think you're going to go somewhere and be able to see them. The meetings are going to be closed. You're only going to have to go by the words of the people that was there when it comes to the Clintons speaking out. But we heard from Bill Gates' ex-wife who said, you got to talk to Bill about that. You know, basically she ain't going into it. But she most definitely spoke out, guys. All right, we got Kash Patel. He most definitely spoke out about the latest release of the Epstein files. Let's see what he had to say.
Being here.
Great to be with you, Brett.
I want to talk about those stats. I want to talk about all of the efforts that you're doing. I'd like to do a lightning round of other topics that we're covering.
Absolutely.
First of all, we just heard that report out of Arizona about Nancy Guthrie. You all are involved in that case. Is that correct?
Yeah, Brett, with any missing persons, what you want to do is what the sheriff said, find them and put all law enforcement on that X. And the sheriff and the state and local authorities are leading that effort, and the FBI has provided all resources requested and will continue to do so.
There was a report today that TMZ received a ransom note. Are you aware of that? Or
The local authorities notified the FBI of it, and we are working with them in any manner they choose. But remember, they're the lead right now, and we have to respect that, but we are there to help them in any way we can, on ransom notes or otherwise.
Yeah, the sheriff got to, we believe she was taken from the home, and you're assisting them in their efforts.
Absolutely. We're on the ground there with them.
Okay, I want to talk to something that raised some eyebrows, and that's the FBI in this Fulton County election case and taking ballots from that office down there. Can you tell us about that? Paint the picture about what that is about?
Absolutely. Look, from the FBI perspective and our partners at DOJ, we did the same thing there we do in any criminal case or investigation. We collected evidence. We presented that evidence to a federal magistrate judge who made a finding of probable cause and said, here's your search warrant, here are the parameters of that search warrant. And what you saw play out last week was the execution of that search warrant, just like we would do anywhere else. The target of that search warrant was a warehouse in Fulton County. Federal agents from the FBI went down there and followed the parameters of the search warrant and secured the evidence. And from there, we maintained the chain of custody and do what we always do, which is to follow the evidence.
But the probable cause is that there was a crime in the election tabulation.
So the probable cause is still in the search warrant, which is under seal, so I'm not able to discuss that.
All right, but let me talk about this other element of it, and that is the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. New York Times writes this: Mrs. Gabbard used her cell phone to call President Trump, who did not initially pick up and then called back shortly after. The president addressed the agents, the FBI agents on the speakerphone, asking them questions as well as praising and thanking them for their work on the inquiry. One U.S. official said the president gave no substantive direction to the investigators. Unusual for a president to get involved on the agent level. Paint the picture there.
Sure. The one thing I think that many, if not every FBI agent and personnel in law enforcement across the country love about this president is that he backs them. He backs the blue, he gives them resources, and he's always congratulatory of their efforts. And so to hear from the commander-in-chief from my troops on the ground there was a pretty cool thing. And we were pleased to hear the president come in and say, thank you for what you're doing. That is maybe unusual from prior administrations, but I take it every chance I get to thank the men and women in law enforcement.
And Director Gabbard put out a statement saying that she accompanied the FBI Deputy Director Bailey and the acting special agent down there to oversee this search warrant, but doesn't it suggest that there is some international element to this?
All I can speak to is the FBI and the DOJ, and what we are doing is following the predicate laid out in the search warrant, and we're executing that. And President Trump has assembled a tremendous cabinet, the DNI and everyone else, and we collect information from our interagency when the investigation follows that path. And so we're happy to have a team of professionals involved.
Bouncing around, the Epstein files, the last tranche, we're told, put out. Looking back since the beginning, and you've been a part of talking about this, and DOJ has obviously produced these elements.
Here we go with the Epstein
Do you
files,
have regrets
guys.
about how it's been handled?
Look, like any other hot topic issue, the American public and the world had a great interest in this. And what we did under President Trump's leadership is produce the most transparent DOJ and FBI in history. 3 other administrations had the opportunity.
Transparent, y'all put out blank forms along with some of that information. You can't even tell what's on it.
To do this, and we produced everything we legally and lawfully could. We worked with our partners in Congress, we followed the statutes and the court orders, and we produced, 3 million some pages? So I think we got to the result in the right way. Could we have gotten there faster? I'm not really sure because of numerous court cases, multiple protective orders, multiple court sealings, and so now we've produced everything we can while protecting victims' rights and
Do you think that it gets to someplace? Does it get to some kind of charges that we don't yet know about?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. This FBI, as we'll talk about shortly, has done a record year in protecting and going after those that prey on children and sex traffic. And we have always said, as the Attorney General has always said, if there's any facts or any information about an ongoing matter, please let us know. We will fully investigate it. But I want to remind your audience, the materials that were released were from search warrants from 2007, 8, and earlier. And they were strictly confined to certain parameters by those that ran the investigation then. So that's what was collected. We, and not just my FBI, 3 other FBIs have looked into that material to see if there's any leads, to produce any investigatory leads to prosecute anyone. And we have exhausted that, but we are always open to new information based on the release.
You told me when we last talked, this is 8 months ago when we did an interview at the FBI in Quantico, that you were convinced that Epstein killed himself in jail. Today, 8 months.
Let's take time to double tap that screen, guys. Get the lights up. If you're on the mobile device, double tap the screen of it. Or click the 3 dots, hit the 3 dot, click the 3 dots in the right hand corner, hit the thumbs up, man. It helps out the channel, man. Like the video. Shout out to everybody in the building.
8 months after that, are you still convinced?
Yes.
100%.
Yes, sir.
Let me bring you to Minnesota. There's the fallout from Minnesota, everything that's being looked at. It's obviously not in your department, but you commented on this about the firearm aspect of this in protest. Take a listen.
They talking about Alex Pretty.
You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple. You don't have that right to break the law and incite violence.
Kyle Rittenhouse did it.
So that got some response.
Sure.
U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, said this over the weekend.
You bring a gun into the district, you mark my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner somewhere else. You bring a gun into this district, count on going to jail, and hope you get the gun back.
Some people are concerned about something I said yesterday, so I want to be crystal clear. I am a proud supporter of the Second Amendment.
So all these gun rights advocates and supporters are saying, wait a second, what are you guys telecasting here?
Well, I'm glad you played the entirety of the clip because mostly nobody did that.
Exactly.
I said you cannot bring a firearm to a public protest and incite violence. That's the kicker. President Trump's administration is the most pro-Second Amendment administration in history. All we are saying is, one, it's a question of law. Did you incite violence or commit another crime while in possession of a firearm? And if that's the case, then we're going to investigate you. But the other question is a prudential one. Should you be bringing firearms? That's not a decision.
Is he moving the goalposts, guys? Let me know. He says he says that Alex Pretty jumped in front of that ICE officer doing his job, pepper spraying that lady. He incited violence by doing that, and that's how he feel about it. How y'all feel about it? I don't know, man. Did he pose the officers any threat? Because he tried to stop them from pepper spraying the woman, and then they roughed him up and slammed him on the ground, took his gun and popped him. I'm just saying.
For the FBI to places where people are protesting, that's a prudential decision. We will follow the facts and the law.
Okay, 2 more quick things. The Charlie Kirk shooter, the trial is ongoing. They're starting the process. It's going slowly. Even the widow, Erica Kirk, has been upset about that speed.
You understand the goalpost has been
seeing
moved.
what you've seen, that this one shooter is the one guy?
Well, I got to be careful on comment on the evidence. As you know, it's a state court proceeding. It's a state murder charge. And as you know, you've covered this longer than everybody else. Those take a long time, if not years, to adjudicate a murder case. And that's what's going on. My job at the FBI is to ensure that they have the evidence that they need from my agents that were on the ground that collected it, and we provided it to them, and we will continue to work with them and take our direction from the state prosecutors. At the end of the day, Charlie was my friend, a dear, dear friend. The worst thing that could happen is we somehow taint the evidence of the jury pool by making a statement or commenting and stylizing the evidence, and that ends up in a mistrial or even an acquittal. So what I'm guarding against is that, and we will continue to provide support.
All right, well, let me take you to a different shooter, and that is the Butler shooter. I asked you about this at Quantico. Take a listen. Will we know a lot more about him?
Is there more to know? I don't know that there's more to know, but you're going to know everything we know.
And we don't feel that the American people have been given the information they need on that. And we're digging through the files and we're getting them a more robust picture of what happened.
So that was May 2025. I mean, I don't think we, the public, have a more robust picture of that shooter.
Well, I think that's an unfair supposition. We, the FBI, have put out all the information that we possibly and legally can while protecting any ongoing matters that are unrelated.
But he's
to that.
dead.
Well, yes, he's very much dead. But at the same time, Brett, we at the FBI have to follow the parameters of our investigation and what the law allows us to release.
I get it, but what were the cell phones? Why don't we know who he was talking to? What exactly happened? I feel like we haven't gotten the whole picture about Butler even now.
It's never going to be enough for everyone. It's never going to be enough. But what we are saying is, we're not saying trust us. We're saying we did an exhaustive search of that. We presented that information to the Department of Justice, and a decision was made on what to release.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, you said we put out everything we could. Do you think that everything's been put out about Eric Crumps, the shooter, alleged shooter?
Everything. Whether it's Epstein or Charlie Kirk, or whether it's this shooter in Butler, we always put out what the law permits us to put out.
Last thing, this has happened this weekend. In Las Vegas, law enforcement, including the FBI, removed more than 1,000 suspected biological agents from a house linked to the man accused of operating an underground biolab in California several years ago. That man has been locked up ever since awaiting trial in April. So if that Chinese national has been behind bars for the past 3 years, how is it just now authorities are raiding this Las Vegas house?
Well, I think that's a great question. What this FBI did was went back and look at a report that my predecessor went to Capitol Hill and said there's no connection to China. I found that unbelievable or implausible. So that is a state-run investigation right now in the state of Nevada. And where the FBI comes in is to say, wait a second, we have information that we believe disputes the prior testimony of Director Wray. And so we went back to our law enforcement partners and say, hey, we got to look at this again. And that's why you're seeing these state warrants executed. And that's why you're seeing these seizures. And the FBI is collecting that evidence and taking it to our labs for further analysis.
It was announced that one man, a property manager, was charged with some minor local offenses. Wouldn't keeping 1,000 biological agents in a house be a federal offense?
Well, that's just the thing, right? This state warrant was just executed within the last 48 hours, right? What we have to do is take these 1,000 samples, ship them across the country, which we did overnight, and have our lab analyze them. And once we have those results, then we can produce further charges.
Obviously, people look at that and say, is the CCP operating other biolabs in our country?
And look at what this FBI has done. We arrested 3 researchers at the University of Michigan with ties to the CCP for bringing in biologicals and for trying to harm our agricultural seed industry. That is the priority here to protecting our nation's not just secrets, but our agriculture and our citizens' health.
The year-end stats, 20% decrease in nationwide murder rate, 100% increase in arrests year over year, 31% increase in kilograms of fentanyl seized, 210% increase in gangs and criminal enterprises disrupted.
I mean, that is the historic year in the 117 years of the FBI's history. If you took just one of those stats and accomplished it in 1 year, it would be a monumental feat. And that is a commitment from President Trump to back law enforcement. What we did, we put 1,000 agents into the field last year. We're going to send 1,000 more employees to the field permanently this year so they can get after it for the American people. I mean, just think about what's in those numbers. 20% less murders. Just think about that. We have a 500% increase in those predators online that prey upon our children. We've seized enough fentanyl to kill 140 million Americans. That's just the FBI alone. And as you said, we have doubled the number of violent offender arrests in 1 year under President Trump. And that is just the beginning of it.
Well, Mr. Director, we appreciate the time. There's a lot to talk about, and we always welcome you back when you can provide.
Kash Patel of the FBI basically just said that, you can absolutely not bring a weapon to a protest, guys, and then, start trouble in so many ways. So he's saying that he feels like basically Alex Preddy was there to start trouble, and he shouldn't have never had the weapon. That's what I took from it, right? All right, so we know that happened in Minnesota. So we know that they took out the old ICE commander, the chief person, and then they filled it in with Tom Homan. He gave an interview last week. He most definitely gave an interview earlier regarding the situation in Minnesota and says that ICE plans to remove 700 ICE agents from Minnesota. Check this out.
Good morning. I'm Tom Holman. I'm the board as our President Trump. I'm here with Sam Olson, Field Office Director for the St. Paul office, and Ron Patello, Senior Advisor to the Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol. Us three guys got just shy of 100 years in law enforcement, immigration enforcement. I worked with Ron 30 years ago in Dallas, Texas. He's been with the Border Patrol's entire career.
Can we get the likes over 100, guys? We need 50 more likes. Double tap that screen if you have not, if you're on a mobile device, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. This is Tom Holman on the current situation in Minnesota, guys, and how he plans to remove 700 ICE agents from over there.
During my press conference last week, I reported I had productive discussions with various state and local officials, including Governor,
Hey, Erica.
Attorney General Mayor Fry, and law enforcement officials about increasing coordination in a lawful way between the county jails and ICE to avoid public safety threats being released back in the community. While we had our differences, one thing was clear: we all committed to public safety for all who live in the Twin Cities. We have made significant progress under the direction of President Trump, working with state and local officials here in Minnesota, and I expect that to increase in the coming weeks. We continue to have discussions. I'll have discussions this afternoon. We currently have an unprecedented number of counties communicating with us now and allowing ICE to take custody of illegal aliens before they hit the streets. Unprecedented cooperation. And I'll say it again. This is efficient, requires only 1 or 2 officers to assume custody of a criminal alien target rather than 8 or 10 officers going into the community and arresting that public safety threat. This frees up more officers to arrest or remove criminal aliens. More officers taking custody of criminal aliens directly from the jails means less officers on the street doing criminal operations. This is smart law enforcement, not less law enforcement. It's safer for the community, safer for the officers, and safer for the aliens.
Is Tom Holman making sense? Let me know.
This coordination also makes it far more safe for the Twin Cities. Arresting a public safety threat in the safety and security of a jail is the safest thing we could do. Further, less public safety risks are being released back into the communities, reduces recidivism, so local law enforcement can direct their limited resources to other public safety matters in their community. This is another priority of President Trump. The state prisons already cooperate with ICE on this coordinated transfer of custody, and we thank them for that partnership, and we plan to do more with them. I also want to reiterate and emphasize, we are not requiring jails to hold people past their normal release time for immigration purposes. We're not asking anyone to be an immigration officer. We're not asking any state or local official to do immigration enforcement activity. They are not. By merely notifying us before they release them, they don't hold them 1 minute past they normally would. Given this increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately, we will draw down 700 people effective today. 700 law enforcement personnel.
What's up, Mad Dog?
We have also fully integrated CBP personnel into the ICRO team structure under one unified chain of command. Not 2 chains of command, there'd be 1 chain of command here. Any large enforcement operation I've ever been involved with, there's 1 chain of command, and that's where we're moving forward. During my press conference last week, I announced that moving forward, ICE will be conducting targeted immigration enforcement operations, like ICE has traditionally done for decades, based on reasonable suspicion to question and detain. ICE will conduct these operations and transnational criminal organization investigations with a focus on national security and public safety. I want to be clear. Just because you prioritize public safety threats don't mean we forget about everybody else. We will continue to enforce the immigration laws in this country. To help execute this, we have developed and implemented a multi-agency surge task force with an operational framework that clarifies lines of effort, integrated enforcement, investigative and special response efforts. A unified joint operations center has been established to manage all operations and ensure efforts align with priorities of the mission. This reorganization also enables ICE to leverage joint intelligence capabilities to effectively target threats, as well as to reduce the overall personnel footprint and enhance public safety and confidence in the agency's capabilities and presence here. I've also ensured that officials from legal internal affairs offices remain on the ground as long as this operation continues. During our efforts to identify and implement improvements of how operations are planned, conducted, and managed, we identified a gap in regard to the use of body-worn cameras. This was actually raised by the workforce when I started walking around talking to people here. Some officers and agents had them, some
They
didn't.
gonna be using okay, so everybody didn't have body cams. Well, they're gonna make sure that all officers that remain there have body cams. So they're gonna be recording with their body cams now.
That inconsistency was unacceptable, so we moved immediately to prioritize full body cam deployment in the city. I discussed this with Secretary Noem a couple of days ago, and she made the decision to deploy them. The plan is to deploy them nationwide, but it's a priority for the city right now. There's actually $20 million in the spending bill to further fund the deployment of body cameras.
They don't want you to record. They want you
The
to
president
leave.
is supportive of this decision because we have nothing to hide. We want to be fully transparent in what we do. The American people seek and deserve professional and trustworthy law enforcement, and I and the president expect that any misconduct will not be tolerated and will be swiftly addressed. The integration, structuring, and resources we have implemented will help ensure accountability and that targeted enforcement operations have a focus on national security threats and public safety threats, and they are conducted effectively, safely, and appropriately. Again, this is smarter enforcement, not less enforcement. For those who are not a national security threat or public safety risk, you are not exempt from immigration enforcement actions. If you're in the country legally, you are not off the table. And let me be clear, President Trump fully intends to achieve mass deportations during this administration. Continue every day throughout this country. President Trump made a promise, and we have not directed otherwise. I heard rumors we have, untrue. Given that many public safety threats on our communities, many of which poured across the border during the Biden administration, it makes sense to prioritize public safety risks right now. Again, prioritization doesn't mean you forget about everybody else. But we have a criminal here, a non-criminal here. The criminal has to be arrested first because they're the biggest threat to the community.
Yeah, get the criminals.
My goal with the support of President Trump is to achieve a complete drawdown and end this surge as soon as we can. But that is largely contingent upon the end of the illegal and threatening activities against ICE and its federal partners that we're seeing in the community. We will not draw down on personnel providing security for our officers. I will not let our officers be put at risk. So we will not draw down on personnel providing security and responding to hostile incidents until we see a change in what's happening with the lawlessness.
He almost
the
seemed
impeding and
disappointed.
interfering and assaulting of ICE and Border Patrol officers. It is against the law to forcibly assault, resist, oppose, impede, intimidate, and interfere with federal law enforcement, including ICE officers and Border Patrol agents. Doxing law enforcement to threaten them and their families because they're executing their sworn duties to enforce immigration law that Congress passed is unacceptable. And it's shameful and incomprehensible to me that this unlawful and threatening behavior is being tolerated by anyone. As far as what I saw yesterday, the roadblocks being set up, you're not going to stop ICE. You're not going to stop Border Patrol.
He said you're not gonna stop them. Don't care how many
The only thing you're doing is irritating your
barricades
community. You want to
put
go
up.
get groceries or pick their children up or whatever. I talked to the chief of police, and he committed to taking swift action on those illegal roadblocks. They're illegal. We shouldn't tolerate them. Again, a complete drawdown is going to depend on cooperation, continued cooperation of local and state law enforcement, and the decrease of the violence, the rhetoric, and the attacks against ICE and Border Patrol. The federal law enforcement personnel, ICE and CBP, and other partner agencies are patriots. And they've carried out their duties patriotically.
We need 20 more lights, guys. Get the lights up past 100. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up. This is Tom Homan on how things are going to go in Minnesota from now on, since he's the new sheriff in town.
Integrity with professionalism and compassion. I've said this many times. These men and women don't hang their heart on a hook when they come to work. President Trump and I strongly stand with them in the critical work they do to prevent harmful or otherwise dangerous people from entering or remaining in this country. As part of the surge operation here, numerous criminal aliens have already been arrested. We've arrested 14 people who had homicide convictions, 139 people with sex-related offenses, 28 gang members.
Gifted gays, I live in Texas.
139 assault convictions, 87 sex offenses, 28 gang members have been arrested, just to name a few. We're taking a lot of bad people off the street. Everybody should be grateful to that. Who in their right mind would want these dangerous criminals walking around the communities? Everyone has a constitutional right to peacefully protest. President Trump and I, we completely support that. At the same time, professional law enforcement officers should and need to be able to perform their sworn duties without being harassed, impeded, or assaulted. I want anyone to report instances of alleged misconduct or wrongdoing. There's a way to report that. The Trump administration is taking violations of 18 U.S.C. 111, which is assaulting, impeding, interfering. We're taking that seriously. If you violate the law, you will be federally prosecuted. In the past month, 158 people have been arrested for violation of 111. 85 cases have been already accepted for prosecutions. The rest remain pending. We've had 9 indictments of those who raided the church, and additional cases are being worked. Additionally, I've been saying this for almost a year now. Hateful, extreme rhetoric against ICE personnel is completely unacceptable. Please stop. I said back in March of this year, if the hateful rhetoric didn't stop, I was afraid there would be bloodshed. And there has been. President Trump and I, Secretary Noem, none of us want to see any bloodshed.
They want to see Secretary Noem out of office. They said she don't deserve her job. That's what they said.
It is no doubt encouraging and inciting certain people to violate the law, wanting to harm, and actually harm law enforcement, their families, is unacceptable. I would implore the governor and the AG and the mayor and other political officials to urge in the most strong and urgent way to ask for calm in the community and to end the resistance, the impediment, the interference, again, protest. But stop impeding, stop interfering, stop violating the law, because we will arrest you. In closing, President Trump and I would like to thank the men and women of ICE, Border Patrol, and other federal agencies on the ground here for your dedication to the oath you swore to enforce the federal laws and promote public safety through the work you do. That hasn't been easy. I know the sacrifices you made. I know the sacrifices your families make. I know your families worry about you every day. I know you've been away from birthdays and anniversaries and holidays. I appreciate every one of you. I wore that green uniform. I love the United States Border Patrol. I was an ICE agent. I know the job you have. I know the tragedies you've seen. The president is with you. Again, I want to thank Governor Walz, Attorney General, and Mayor for the candid and insightful, productive discussions we had. Again, I'm not saying we agree on everything, but I think we all already accomplished great things in Minnesota. I am optimistic we will achieve even more in the coming days to make this city safer. I would also like to thank the numerous local law enforcement officials I was able to meet with the last 9 days since I arrived here. I appreciate hearing from local law enforcement, their perspective on what's happening. I appreciate the desire to enhance communications between their agencies and our agencies, and that communication has been vastly improved. I truly appreciate your commitment to respond to federal law enforcement in a time of need. Every chief I talked to, every one of them, promised to respond to any public safety issue when our officers out doing their sworn duty and people start crossing the line and they start impediment, interference. Every police chief has committed to doing their job and enforce public safety. We talked to a lot of sheriffs throughout the nation. We have unprecedented cooperation. I've yet to talk to a sheriff that said no. There's still more sheriffs we are in discussions with and talking to, but I have not heard no. I think they want to do the right things for their communities too. Lastly, I'd like to thank President Trump for his steadfast leadership and commitment to law enforcement, public safety, and prosperity. I've said this many times. I've worked for 6 presidents and 10 administrations. When it comes to public safety, border security, immigration enforcement, no one's done it better than President Trump. His success is unprecedented. Later on today, Secretary Noem is having a press conference on our southern border, the most secure border in the history of this nation, because of the leadership of President Trump and the men and women over there wearing a green uniform. Most secure border in the history of this country, which means less children are dying making that journey, less women and children being sex trafficked, less fentanyl getting this country to kill our young people, less known suspected terrorists being released in this country. The most secure border in a lifetime gives us the strongest national security we've seen. You can't have strong national security without strong border security. I wish I could be at that press conference, but the president has called me here. I just had a small part in it. The reason we have the most secure border is because of President Trump's leadership.
Why are you talking so slow?
Men and women wearing the green uniform, which I once wore. I just reported, I was down there with Commissioner Scott, CBP Commissioner Scott, 2 weeks ago. We went through that border in boat, forward drive, and in the air. We toured the border in California, Texas, and Arizona. And I did not see one illegal alien. Think about that. The last 9 months, no one's been released from that border. The most secure border in history of this nation. So God bless the men and women of the Border Patrol. God bless President Trump for his leadership, and God bless the United States of America. And I'll take questions.
You said that you're getting unprecedented cooperation. Where's that coming from? Is it coming from the sheriffs? Have you signed agreements with them? Are Hennepin and Ramsey County part of that? And the 700 officers leaving Minnesota, are they Customs and Border Patrol or ICE or?
There's a mix, but that number is based on, number one, the cooperation. Again, rather than having whole teams out looking for a criminal alien that was just released, now we have one agent at that jail picking that person up. That and the operation has been successful on the number of arrests, so the target list is reducing. So with the efficiencies of the jails, with the efficiencies of the prison system working with us, and the target list decreasing, we had a whole team looking at what makes sense without risking officer safety and security teams, and that number is 700. Look, we want to get back to the original footprint, the Minnesota footprint of what ICE officers looked like before this operation, plus the additional hires through the big, beautiful bill. A lot of these people, you got agents here from LA and New York and Portland, there's problems there too. So we want to get people back to their home stations and enforce immigration laws in those areas. But the vast majority of sheriffs, there's only a few that we're still in consultation with, but this is unprecedented cooperation. So again, I want to thank, the sheriffs, the governor, the AG. I think we're in a lot better place than we've ever been in. We never had this kind of cooperation at this level. And I'm not leaving until we get all done. But I'm happy to say I'm extremely pleased with the leadership team and their outreach to the sheriffs, to the state, to the chiefs. I've talked to many of them. I didn't talk to all of them, but I plan on talking to every one of them before I leave and thanking them for their cooperation.
Are you getting cooperation from Hennepin and Ramsey?
Follow-ups right here. Go ahead.
With everything that you've mentioned here right now, do you think this operation was a success here in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think I just listed a bunch of people we took off the streets of the Twin Cities. So I think it's very effective as far as public safety goes. Was it a perfect operation? No. No. And I just told you, we created one unified chain of command, make sure everybody's on the same page, make sure we beat conflicting targets, and making sure we follow the rules. Now, I'm not saying anybody, I don't think anybody purposely didn't do something they should have done. I'm saying that I brought a different set of eyes on this. I've done this for a long time. We made this operation more streamlined. And we established a unified chain of command, so everybody knows what everybody's doing. And not that it wasn't occurring before, but we approved upon that. So in target enforcement operations, we go out there, there needs to be a plan. And I want to make sure everybody has a plan. But I'm not going to sit here and point a finger at anybody that they failed. It was a great operation. We took a lot of public safety threats off the street.
Right here.
Can I ask a quick numerical, just clarification? I think it's my main question, please. So 700 leaving effective immediately. How many will that leave here once that group is out?
Right around 2,000.
And what is the pre-operation footprint?
Well, 150
is normal.
Well, we got to remember now we got special agents on detail here doing the fraud investigation. They're not going anywhere. They're going to finish their job. I'm talking about immigration enforcement efforts.
Understood. So then my main question is just, we've talked to people who say they're protesting not the arrests of people with criminal backgrounds, but things like broad ICE patrols, random citizenship checks of people of color, and the detainment but no charges of U.S. citizens. So have you committed or will you commit to officers on the ground here ceasing those actions?
What I have made clear, we're doing targeted enforcement operation. When we leave this building, we know who we're looking for, where we're most likely to find them, what their immigration record is, what their criminal record is. But as we continue to be forced in the communities, when we go to arrest that criminal target, if we find an illegal alien there, they're coming. We're not going to turn a blind eye to illegal immigration. That's why this partnership and this coordination is so important. We'd much rather work in the safety and security of jail. Look, I go to bed every night, wonder if every one of our officers go home safely. I also am concerned that every person we're looking for is taken into custody safely. The best way to do that is to have a target enforcement operation, a well-planned operation. That's the way we've done it for decades.
So should we expect to see no more of that?
Pardon me?
Should we expect to see no more of those citizenship checks?
I have directed target enforcement operations, and we'll hold our officers to the highest standards. These are professionals. Again, I wish every one of you could put that gun on your hip, put that Kevlar vest on, go out there and put up what they put up with. Considering the hate, the rhetoric, the attacks, I think they performed remarkably, and I'm proud of them. We came here, President Trump sent me here.
Hey, Bobby.
I didn't ask to come here. President Trump sent me here to help de-escalate what was going on. We're not surrendering our mission. We're not walking away from our mission. We're just making this more effective and more smart. This is smart law enforcement. Smart law enforcement makes it safer.
Realistically, how much work is there left to do here? And with this unprecedented cooperation, how long could this take, best case scenario in your eyes, to get the job done?
Look, I said it. We want to get back to the normal operational footprint here. But that depends on the people out there putting up illegal roadblocks. That depends on people that want to intimidate and interfere and put hands on ICE officers. Tone down the rhetoric. Stop violating the law and impeding and interfering with us, and they'll draw down be quicker. I still got more discussions to have with some local law enforcement officers looking for their cooperation. The more cooperation we get, the less rhetoric and hate we see, and the less attacks means we can draw down even more quicker. So, a lot of this has to do with assistance from the community. We want to get these men and women home. They got a job to do at home, and I think we come a long ways. I'm actually, yesterday afternoon I was sitting on my chief of staff. I'm actually amazed at the cooperation and agreements we already talked about, and the willingness to work with us. We're doing better than I ever thought we would, seriously. And I'm excited about getting back to the business of enforcing immigration law without without arresting people for 111 for interference and impeding. We just want to do what we've done for 30 years, 40. I've done this 40 years. We want to get back to doing the job, and that's what we plan on doing. And we're not. I want to keep this because I keep hearing it and hearing it and hearing it. We're not surrendering the president's mission on a mass deportation operation. If you're in the country illegally, if we find you, we'll deport you. But this is about target enforcement operation, and that's what we're going to be doing.
Go ahead.
You've been talking about these filter blockades. People, just regular people, protesters are checking IDs, they're running people's plates, and they're not letting people who they think are ICE agents through. But we've seen Minneapolis Police Department roll by and ask these protesters, are they doing okay? And they let these things stay up for extended periods of time. What do you make of MPD's lack of action on this matter?
When I was away to wear the roadblocks yesterday, I called the chief of police, and he went and disbanded them. After I got off the phone with him, he has promised to take enforcement action. It's illegal. You can't do that. And again, a message to those folks: what are you doing? You really think you're going to stop an ICE and CBP from doing the job? It's a joke. Only people you're hurting is your own community who wants to go and get groceries, pick up the dry cleaning, or go to work, whatever. You're just hindering them. Stop. Stop.
I just have a quick clarification on the body cameras. Just a clarification.
Mr. Holman, could you just talk about the targeted list? How big is that list?
He say he ain't talking no more. That was Tom Homan on where he, was basically gonna go down in Minnesota, as long as he's there. He said, hey, if y'all stop interfering with ICE duties, then we'll, withdraw out of there even faster than we already are. Now, we heard him bring up Kristi Noem. Remember, I told y'all they want her out of office. They don't think she deserves to have that seat. You know what I'm talking about? They most definitely spoke on it. Check this out.
Backlash to the administration's extreme immigration enforcement tactics. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says all DHS officers on the ground in Minneapolis will start wearing body cameras immediately. This announcement follows the deadly shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy by federal agents, where in both instances, witness videos contradicted claims made by many administration officials, sparking calls for accountability. Investigators have been reviewing body-worn camera footage in Preddy's killing, but the officers at the scene of Good's death did not appear to be equipped with them. Secretary Noem added the program will be expanded nationwide as funding is available. And it is. This also comes as Alex Preddy's death has been ruled a homicide. A report made public yesterday from the Hennepin County Medical Examiner states that Preddy's death was caused by multiple gunshot wounds occurring after he was shot by law enforcement officers. A homicide. The organization, Home of the Brave, looks to amplify the voices of people whose lives, they say, have been directly harmed by the Trump administration. And today the group is launching a new ad campaign pressuring Congress to impeach Secretary Kristi Noem over the actions of ICE in Minnesota. Let's bring in spokeswoman and advisory board member of Home of the Brave, Sarah Matthews. She's a former deputy press secretary during the first Trump administration and resigned from her position following the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You guys make sure you're double tapping that screen if you have not. There's one way to hit the like button if you're on a mobile device. Double tap that screen or click the three dots in the right hand corner and hit the thumbs up. It helps out the channel, guys. Appreciate everybody that's hitting that like button, and most definitely subscribe to the channel if you're new.
Calling for Kristi Noem's resignation. What are you asking people to do? Impeachment. And how do you rally members of Congress to get to this point?
Yeah, so we are doing a 6-figure ad buy where we have mobile billboards that will be circling the Capitol grounds for the next week that will be saying that ICE needs no more new funding and that Kristi Noem needs to be impeached. And on top of that, we have a full-page ad buy where we're wrapping copies of the Washington Post and having those delivered directly to members of Congress and calling for the impeachment of Kristi Noem as well. And we need to keep the pressure on these members of Congress because they know that she is completely unqualified and that what has happened in Minneapolis has disqualified her from serving in this position. But unfortunately, we only seem to find that Republicans find their voice to speak out against Trump when they're leaving office. And so we've seen Senator Thom Tillis say that Kristi Noem needs to go. But we need to keep the pressure on these other members of Congress because she should not be in this role, especially after everything that has happened in Minneapolis with the killing of 2 American citizens and all of the violence and chaos that has unfolded there and across the country and their immigration enforcement efforts.
Sarah, good morning. As you know better than anybody, that it's very difficult to cross Donald Trump, almost impossible. It's why, not impossible, you can do it, but most Republicans don't do it. To your credit, you left the administration after what you saw on January 6th and have spoken out since then. But what are your hopes that some people may raise their voices? I mean, Donald Trump, as you know, has the power to silence whoever he needs to silence, and it does take a retiring member off. And to say something, though, we did hear from one member at the top of our show in Florida, Congressman Jimenez, a Republican, saying, "We've gone too far with this. Sir, you have secured the border. Go after the bad guys, leave the other people alone." So what are your hopes that we might actually hear some more Republican voices, at least on this issue?
You know, I do wish that a lot of Republicans would come forward because it's morally the right thing to do, but politically, it would also be the right thing for them to do. And so that's where I do have some hope that maybe we'll see more who will speak out and be pressured to impeach Kristi Noem. Because if you look at the numbers in polling, Americans are not happy with everything that's going on with ICE. And a new New York Times poll, 61% of Americans said that they think ICE has gone too far. And look, Americans wanted immigration enforcement. It's part of the reason why Donald Trump was put back into power, but they don't want to see this. They don't like all the violence and chaos that has unfolded, and especially not the killing of 2 innocent American citizens. We know that Barack Obama deported nearly 3 million people, and he did it without all of this violence and chaos. So it can be done. And I think that if we're going to have any hope of these politicians doing the right thing when it comes to ICE funding, when it comes to impeaching Kristi Noem, it's going to be that it would be of the political benefit to them. And so maybe there could be some Republicans that could be swayed, but I'm going to be continuing to speak out on this, as will our organization, Home of the Brave, and keeping the pressure on them.
Sarah, you know Donald Trump probably better than anybody on this program this morning, been in the room with him for so many instances. Why is he keeping Secretary Noem at this point? Do you think he's unhappy with her, and what would it take to get him to take action? He didn't seem to shy away from firing people in his first term. In his second, he seemed less eager to do that, but he didn't mention her at all.
The Democrats and some people want Noem out, guys.
At the cabinet meeting just last week, people took a lot of hints from that. What do you think is going on there?
Yeah, I think that in the second iteration of Trump, I think that he doesn't feel as much pressure from the public or from people advising him to fire those people. I think that in his first term, we saw him fire willy-nilly. And also when he faced some public pressure, he would give in. But then that is Trump admitting that he made a mistake, that he hired the wrong person. And so I think in Trump 2.0, he's digging his heels in a bit when it comes to these cabinet officials. And he doesn't want to give the public or Democrats the satisfaction of firing these folks. We saw it with Signalgate with Secretary Hegseth, where there was also some murmurs that he was unhappy with this and that he might be on the outs, but ultimately it didn't turn into anything. And I think right now that's the same thing that we're going to see here. I think that while there are murmurs that he's unhappy with Noem and that he doesn't like having Corey Lewandowski by his by her side, I don't know if he's going to be the one to ultimately fire her. I think that if she is going to go, it would be on Congress to impeach her.
I think the other, the other conclusion one might make, it's just a question, not firing a lot of these folks who are completely unfit for their jobs, completely unfit. Yeah. And some of them taking on other jobs. You have the Treasury Secretary going on the Sunday shows talking about the shooting. I mean, it's all very confusing and chaotic, and it may be that these people are doing exactly what the president wants them to do, and that's why he's not firing them. So, yeah, it's worth asking at this point when you have the performance of the DHS secretary alone raises some serious questions. Spokeswoman for the and advisory board member for Home of the Brave, Sarah Matthews. Thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
All right, so we heard from her. She's saying basically the people want Noem out, and so do the Republicans. Well, Noem had something to say about all this, and she most definitely responded to all of it. Check this out.
Should her department intervene in Democrat city protests until the city itself asks for help? Please, he said.
It comes as a federal judge rejects Minnesota's request to block the surge of ICE agents in the state. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem joining us now. Madam Secretary, thank you for being here. We have a lot to get to, but obviously the president's most recent statement there on Truth Social, your reaction and thoughts on where this is headed now.
Well, the president's exactly right. We've got the Department of Homeland Security that is coming off its most successful year under his leadership in the history of the department. We have secured the border. We've driven down the murder rates and the crime rates to historic lows in this country, saved hundreds of millions of lives by interdicting drugs across the country and in our maritime borders. We've seen the left violently react, perpetuate violence and mob rule in our cities in retaliation for President Trump enforcing the law. And we're going to continue on a tactical plan to confront this violence that they're bringing to make sure we still continue to do the right thing. We're going to enforce the law, focus on the successes that we've had for the American people and bringing public safety to them. And we're going to go into this next year delivering even more results, making sure that our officers have the ability to conduct operations to get these dangerous criminals off of our streets that are perpetuating violence and continue to go
go forward and deliver FEMA funding and help these states that have been so hit hard in these storms recently, and run TSA and keep our airlines and air traffic control safe. All of those are jobs of the Department of Homeland Security that we need to continue to push on, even though we have these violent monsters that are attacking law enforcement every day, continuing to use their tactics. We will outsmart them, and we will make sure that we keeping America safe.
Well, indeed, President Trump obviously sent Tom Homan into Minneapolis to change up the strategy, as you just mentioned. Tom Homan gave a press conference earlier last week, saying that there were mistakes that DHS made on the ground in Minneapolis. What were those mistakes?
Oh, you know what I would say is that we can always do better, and we learn from every situation that we're in. We see a very organized, well-funded campaign of violent protests against our law enforcement officers. And so we're going to continue to get as much information as soon as possible to give a strategy to protect people, protect our federal buildings like the president laid out yesterday. And we're going to make sure that the American people are safe, that we still continue to go after violent criminals who are trafficking drugs, trafficking our children, and bring them to justice and get them out of our country. If you think about last year of the Biden administration, over 125,000 children just in that year were trafficked across the border. And by securing that border this last year, zero children have been trafficked in the last 12 months because of President Trump's leadership. And that's what we're going to continue to bring. You've heard about all these children that we found and returned. We actually have countries that are asking for their children back. The president of Guatemala wanted their children back that had been trafficked in our country, and we tried to facilitate that, and an activist judge stopped us from giving those children back to their families. So we're going to continue to work no matter what these left violent protesters are doing to stop law enforcement and to put people's lives in jeopardy.
Yeah, speaking of the children, by the way, it's incredible. Not just have you not had any children trafficked over the border, but you have returned almost 150,000 of them to either their parents or located them. They were literally lost in the system. It's truly remarkable. And I know that many of them had fallen into sex trafficking. So it's an incredible story to tell, and it happened under DHS. And I think that's why the president this past week wrote Truth Social saying that you're doing a great job, actually. Here is another story about a child. So here's a judge. We've all heard about this 5-year-old in Minneapolis who his father was apprehended by ICE, and then he ran away on foot, abandoning the child. And then when ICE tried to find his mother, the mother refused to open the door for the child, and somehow DHS or ICE takes this child, gives the child food, protects it from the parents who've abandoned him. Somehow ICE is the bad guy in this situation. Well, a judge has ordered the release of this child who was in custody because his parents abandoned him.
The judge said, "Let the baby go." I think the baby and his father wound up being released, guys.
The judge says the case has its genesis in the ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of daily deportation quotas, apparently, even if it requires traumatizing children. So first, let's address this quota. Is there a quota that you're getting from the White House that you have to meet? Or are you just addressing crime and criminals as you see as they come to your awareness?
No, Rachel, there's no quotas. And let me be clear, these families always get the opportunity to stay together. This child has been with his father, which was the father's choice. We offered them the opportunity to go home, to send them back to their home country if they would like to. The father chose to stay, and therefore we're following the legal process. But it's shocking to me the media's lies about not just that story, but day after day after day about what we do for work in this country to bring people that are dangerous criminals to justice and then remove them from our country if they don't belong here, if they came here illegally. We have the opportunity every day for people who want to go home and are in this country illegally. We give you $2,600. We buy you a plane ticket and send you home right now. That's a voluntary program. We've had millions of people take advantage of that. That is something that we still want.
I need $2,600. She said anybody that's here illegally, they give them $2,600 and send them to their home country. Well, I'm in my home country. I need $2,600. That's where all our money is going. What is going on?
Individuals to make the right
Yeah.
decisions so they have the chance to come back to this country the right way.
Secretary, a lot of people said no one would take, they actually mocked the self-deportation notion, and yet millions have done that. Just very quickly, you've been there a little over a year. How has morale changed at the Department of Homeland Security in spite of all this media?
Oh, the people at the Department of Homeland Security and law enforcement are so excited they get to do their jobs. They're so proud to work for a president that is strong, that is decisive, and that wants to make America safe and enforce our laws again. So they're doing great. In fact, Rachel, just at ICE, we had over 220,000 applications for 10,000 openings. At USCIS, we've had tens of thousands of applications. Secret Service applications have more than doubled. We've got people in every department that are asking to come and work for the Department of Homeland Security because they recognize that we want to defend the homeland, that a country with no borders is no country at all, that people who live here and our citizens deserve safety on their streets, and that we deliver a response of protection of our critical infrastructure and relief to states when they face disasters through FEMA as well. It's a vast department with a lot of responsibilities, 23 different
This is Kristi Noem responding to the Democrats and people who want her to be impeached, who want her to step down from her position. You know, she's basically speaking on all that right now. Make sure you're taking time to double tap that screen. We should be well over 200-300 likes by now. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, so click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you are new.
Agencies, all tasked with keeping people safe, and that's exactly what President Trump is doing.
And, you know, Madam Secretary, you're getting a lot of criticism recently. Now, in the wake of Alex Preddy's tragic shooting, you described him as a domestic terrorist, and that has seemed to have led to many Democrats, including Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who you just heard in Chad's report, now threatening to try and impeach you, calls for your resignation. So my question is a little bit twofold. One is, do you still hold that view that Alex Preddy is falling in the category of a domestic terrorist? And your response to those like Jeffries and Democrats that are calling for your resignation and threatening impeachment?
Well, Griff, in those situations, there was chaos on the ground. You're relying on information and facts that you're getting from the ground, and the president and this administration has been incredibly transparent with the American people. And so when those reports are given, you give as much information as you possibly can, and we continue to go through with the FBI leading on these investigations to get to the bottom of this situation, these protests and fraud that we see in Minnesota, who's funding them, where the billions of dollars have gone that were stolen from the American taxpayers and citizens. We'll continue to do our work. And, you know, this job is an honor to do. I'm very blessed that I get the chance to lead the department. It's an important position to protect our homeland and to make sure that these agencies are responding to people that were stopping terrorists and criminals from harming the American people. I always tell people that the days that you don't hear about us are the days that we were successful, because that meant that we stopped so many dangerous people from perpetuating violence and have gotten those terrorist threats and criminals out of our country before they had the chance to do something that would have devastated families.
That's certainly true. But do you still believe that Alex Preddy is a domestic terrorist?
Yeah, because she had most definitely just tiptoed past that question. I was sitting there wondering, like, dang, when is she going to answer the question about Preddy? She tiptoed around. She talked about everything else but him. Now they have asked her directly. Again, let's see what she say.
We're going to continue to go through with this investigation and deliver information as we go forward. You know, you learn something new from the reports all the time, and we'll continue to do better and give factual information to people as we go through every situation that's on the ground.
So it wasn't just Democrats that you stirred up some controversy with. There were a lot of Second Amendment defenders who were upset about your comment about Preddy, saying, I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign. And a lot of people, gun owners who are, rely on you to be a faithful defender of the Second Amendment, saw that as undermining Second Amendment rights.
Oh, Charlie, you know, I'm a carrier as well and a lifetime member of the NRA. There's nobody who's more pro Second Amendment than me. What I would say to that is you had an individual. Yeah, I think, well, with that situation, we had someone who was impeding a federal law enforcement operation, and had been doing that for quite some time ahead of time, and a background in this. And everyone knows that it's against the law to impede a federal law enforcement investigation with no ID on you and be carrying in those situations. That's the law in this country.
We want to move down to the shot, but first of all, I just want to say, because this whole situation has brought a lot of attention onto your role. At the same time, we're hearing from the administration that they are touting the crime rates that have come down. The murder rate has come down. Mm-hmm. It's the lowest it's been in over 100 years. There's so much wonderful statistics that have been put forward. And you were behind so much of this. I know you're kind of a quiet Midwestern kind of a person who doesn't like to take a lot of credit for what you've done. I've seen that in you. But you were doing exactly what the White House asked you to do. And the successes also are attributed to you. Do you want to talk a little bit about these crime rates and what your department and your leadership has done specifically towards that?
Well, the statistics speak for themselves. With crime rate at historical lows, it's at the lowest rate across this country since it started to be tracked over 125 years ago. Murders have dramatically dropped. We've got drug trafficking down, fentanyl coming over the southern borders down by almost 60%. We've interdicted.
Man, they all got the same speechwriter. She be saying the same. She's saying some of the same stuff that Trump be saying.
Tons and tons of cocaine on the seas. Our Coast Guard has been working with the Department of War on these Venezuelan shadow fleet oil ships. The work that the Department of Homeland Security does, I've been proud to direct because it's been singularly focused on doing exactly what President Trump campaigned on, exactly what he promised, and that was to make sure we're using all of our government to do what we can to bring safety to the American people, to stop the invasion. And think about that. We had millions of people that crossed that southern border, unvetted by the Biden administration, no idea who they were. And other countries unloaded their prisons, their mental institutions, sent people to this country that wanted to do us harm. My job is to find them, bring them to justice, and get them out of this country before they harm us and to harm our citizens. So I'm so proud of the work that we've done at the department. It was a neglected department before I got here. It was run by a secretary who didn't pay attention, didn't address our threats. In fact, the first day that President Trump was in office, and on New Year's Day, even before he took over, we had a terrorist attack in this country, in New Orleans. And that's what we get up every day and work to stop and to make sure that we're getting those terrorists and suspected terrorists out of our country.
And Madam Secretary, just before we run out of time, I do want to ask you about another job at the department, and that is, of course, FEMA. You've been leading the effort as this historic winter storm has hit. I've spoken to members of Congress from Tennessee, my home state, who said that they are terrified of the impact that this government shutdown could have on getting resources and funding to FEMA in places like Tennessee, Mississippi, North Carolina that are being hit hardest.
Yeah, this winter storm Fern, that devastated dozens of states. There was 12 that were major disaster declarations, and we worked with all of those states to pre-deploy resources to send them funds immediately. FEMA's been responding and delivering support to these states that are managing through these disasters 3 times faster than they ever have before. And we just last night had this bomb cyclone that hit the Carolinas, and in talking with their governors and talking with Virginia and their government as well, we can pre-deploy food and meals, generators, teams to help set up those generators, keep people warm through this cold snap. That is all proactive work we're doing to help support these disasters that are managed by states but executed by the local officials. And I think it's been phenomenal to see that partnership. FEMA was a political disaster before President Trump came in and said we're going to reform it, make it responsive, and that's exactly what we've done. But it needs to be funded in order for us to be able to give this kind of support. And this Department of Homeland Security bill is critically important to make sure that FEMA has the dollars it needs to respond. FEMA's charged with running our critical infrastructure and maintaining our government on our very worst day. That's the agency that ensures that our government continues to run should we be attacked, should we have a terrorist attack in this country, and we have a leadership situation where that needs to be in place. So this is a critically important agency that to not fund would be not just devastating for states in a disaster, but also for the continuation of our government.
Well, let's hope the lawmakers on Capitol Hill are listening to you this morning. Madam Secretary, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much.
All right, so Noam stands that hey, we doing what we supposed to be doing. Basically like she ain't did nothing wrong. She said we'll get better over time. As basically getting it right after she called Alex Preddy, a terror with the "is" at the end. Well, with all the things that's been going on with Renee Good and Alex Preddy, and the whole situation in Minnesota, it got Congress to talking, man. And they most definitely had a sit down with some victims of ICE as well as Renee's Good brother. Yeah, they did some talking about it too. Let's go there, to where they talked about this whole situation going on in Minnesota.
This joint hearing, and I want to first begin by welcoming everyone. My name is Robert Garcia, and I'm the ranking member on the House Oversight Committee, and I especially want to thank Senator Blumenthal.
Can we get the lights up,
for his
please?
incredible
Double
leadership.
tap that screen.
This is our second joint hearing between our two committees.
Let's double tap that screen, guys. Get the likes up as we hear from Congress, on this whole situation. As it says, congressional Democrats hold a forum on use of force by ICE and DHS agents, guys, which basically includes Noam. Let's go. Make sure you double tapping that screen to click those three dots. Hit that thumbs up if you're enjoying the show, guys. Let's see what the Democrats had to say about all this.
In both, of course, the Senate and the House. And today, of course, we're going to be examining the use of violence in immigration enforcement. And so this is a very important moment for us as a committee. And of course, an important moment for us to understand what is happening across this country. And so we are, of course, excited to be here and understand how important it is for everyone to really understand what's going on at this moment.
Let's fast forward.
To see how much we are spending across this country to terrorize, disfigure, in some cases kill U.S. citizens and people across this country. Now, Oversight Democrats have tracked, reviewed, and vetted over 470 incidents on our immigration enforcement dashboard, and 186 of them include problematic uses of force by agents. Now, these are not isolated mistakes, they are a clear pattern. And we know that's a tip of the iceberg. We're seeing ICE, CBP, other parts of DHS, all across our country terrorize communities. We've seen warrantless searches of homes and vehicles. We've seen folks arrested, detained with no criminal history. We've seen folks be sent to detention centers only to be released with no explanation as to why. Now, American citizens and innocent people have been brutalized, and our witnesses today will testify to that. And to be clear, we've seen people dragged from cars, beaten, gassed, attacked with crowd control weapons, blinded, like back in my home state of California, left with broken ribs, run off the road, beaten, injured, disfigured, and shot. Officers have been ordered to enter homes without warrants in violation of the Constitution. And we've also seen the federal government labeling American citizens as domestic terrorists, calling people, quote, assassins, and falsely claiming they intended to kill law enforcement, which we know, of course, has been untrue. We're seeing the results of policies set by powerful people of no respect for the Constitution, no respect for the law, no respect for basic humility. And these folks here, which we know well, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller, of course, Tom Homan, and Greg Bovino. These people, every single one of them, has to be held accountable for the crimes, for the terror, and for the murders that are happening to our own people in this country. We're taking action today because the stakes could not be higher. Now, this morning, Oversight Democrats released our initial investigation into the killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Now, Alex, of course, was a VA nurse who was peacefully exercising his First and Second Amendment constitutional rights before he was pepper sprayed, tackled, disarmed, and then shot repeatedly in the back.
Now, Renee Good was a mom who told an officer, which we all have seen on video, "I'm not mad at you." She said, "I'm not mad at you," before she was shot dead. We mourn both of these two Americans today, and we find that these shootings cannot be justified. We also know they were part of a broader pattern of escalating unlawful violence by the Trump administration and DHS to intimidate dissent. Now, this administration then lied about the events and is now obstructing independent investigations to cover up misconduct and deny accountability to the victims and to the public. Our hearing today will build on evidence, not just that we put out in our reports, in our investigation, but the incredible work being done by the Senate, its various committees. And again, I especially want to thank Senator Blumenthal for his leadership of holding these hearings. The stories that we're going to hear today are hard to tell and they're hard to hear. So I want to thank again our witnesses for the courage and the strength that it takes to be here today. This is a step towards accountability, and we know that the courage, that the strength that you all have that are bringing is in light of what you're hearing from the administration. And I think it's important for the public to recognize that this administration has lied, has defamed, and has smeared people that have been peacefully protesting. They've weaponized the Department of Justice to silence protesters, observers, and of course, journalists. But I also remind folks that Donald Trump won't be president forever. Kristi Noem won't be the secretary forever. And when you serve this country in an elected office or in uniform, you swear an oath to the Constitution. You pledge to work for all Americans. You don't get a license to kill, and there's no absolute immunity. We're going to stand up for the rights of our communities, and we believe strongly that we need to hear the stories of those that are in front of us today. I want to thank our witnesses for the courage, and I want to yield back to our host today, and really the person that's been organizing and leading all of these hearings, Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you so much, Representative Garcia. Working with you has been a great experience in partnership, and I am really gratified that we're going to continue our work, continue our investigation, continue our efforts to hold DHS.
Let's fast forward
extensive experience representing victims of policy violence, including the family of George Floyd. Marie Martinez is an American citizen, resident of Chicago. She is here to share her experience of being shot 5 times by Customs and Border Protection agents in Chicago this past October. Alia Rahman is an American citizen and resident of Minneapolis. She is here to share her story of being violently stopped and detained by immigration agents while on her way to a doctor's appointment just 3 weeks ago.
Let's hear some of these stories, guys.
Known as Daniel, I believe. He is an American citizen and resident of San Bernardino, California. Mr. Rascon is here to share his story of being shot at by an immigration agent while traveling in a vehicle with family members last year. Finally, on our panel, Steph Stoughton. He is a former police officer and professor at the University of South Carolina School of Law, where he is faculty director of Excellence in Policing and Public Safety. He is here to share his expertise about the proper methods of policing, including when and where it is appropriate for
some of these stories.
For taking
American values, and of course, our Constitution.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Before I begin, I would like to take a moment to express my gratitude. Thank you, Chairman, for giving me the opportunity to be here today, for taking the time to hear my testimony. I give thanks to God. He has been a constant presence in my life and the source of my strength. Without him, I wouldn't be here standing. I am a living testimony of his grace. sincerely thank you, everyone who has kept me in their thoughts and prayers and who has supported me since day one. From the parents at my school to my neighbors, to my family and friends, strangers near and far, from Mexico to Colombia, thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Esto es para toda mi gente inmigrante. My name is Marimar Martinez. I am a first-generation Mexican American. As a survivor of this administration actions, as an advocate for those who do not have a voice, those that are pleading for justice, living in fear, and those who are asking for meaningful change and accountability. I come from a beautiful family full of immigrants. I am proud of my roots. I am born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, where I learned the values of resilience, community, respect, love, and hope. Those lessons have shaped me since childhood and continue to guide me through my adult life. On October 4, 2025, those values were tested when my life was nearly taken by my own government. This testimony is my attempt to give voice to an experience that words struggle to hold, but silence cannot justify. On Saturday, October 4, 2025, I woke up tired, but committed to doing the fall cleaning I promised myself I would do that day. After 2 hours, I had successfully filled an entire bag of good quality clothes and shoes I wanted to take to donate to my local church. After a quick shower and a cup of coffee, I put the bag of...
Hold on real quick, man. That's not what that's not what I'm looking for. We're gonna come back to her. Let's hear from Renee Good's brother, guys. You know, her brother spoke out about her unaliving. Let's go there, and then we'll come back to this one.
Ms. Luke Ganger, and I'm here with my brother Brent. Renee Good is our sister. We're here on behalf of Nay's big family and those who loved her. We're here to ask for your help. I was talking to my 4-year-old last week when she noticed I was not doing well. I had to come here today and talk to some important people. She knows that her aunt died and that somebody caused it to happen. She told me that there are no bad people and that everyone makes mistakes. She has Nay's spirit. The deep distress our family feels because of Nay's loss is in such a violent and unnecessary way is complicated by feelings of disbelief, distress, and desperation for change. In the last few weeks, our family took some consolation, thinking that perhaps Nay's death would bring about change in our country, and it has not. The completely surreal scenes taking place on the streets of Minneapolis are beyond explanation. This is not just a bad day or a rough week or isolated incidents. These encounters with federal agents are changing the community and changing many lives, including ours, forever. I still don't know how to explain to my 4-year-old what these agents are doing when we pass by. Our family is deeply grateful for the outpouring of love and support from the community in Minneapolis and from people across the country and around the world. The prayers and words of support have truly brought us comfort, and it is meaningful that these sentiments have come from people of all colors, faiths, and ideals. That is a perfect reflection of Renee, who carried peace, patience, and love for others wherever she went. Our family is a very American blend. We vote differently, and we rarely completely agree on the finer details of what it means to be a citizen of this country. We attend various churches and some not at all. And despite those differences, we have always treated each other with love and respect. And we've gotten even closer during this very divided time in our country. And we hope that our family can be even a small example to others, not to let political ideals divide us, to be good, like Renee. But the most important thing we can do today is to help this panel and our country understand who Renee is and what a beautiful American we have lost. A sister, a daughter, mother, a partner, and a friend.
Good afternoon. My name is Brent Ganger, and I'd like to share some thoughts from the eulogy that I gave on my sister's behalf this past Saturday. When I think of Renee, I think of dandelions and sunlight. Dandelions don't ask permission to grow. They push through cracks in the sidewalk, through hard soil, through places where you don't expect beauty, and suddenly there they are, bright, alive. Unapologetically hopeful. That was Renee. And sunlight, warm, steady, life-giving, because when she walked in a room, things felt lighter, even on cloudy days. Renee had a way of showing up in the world that made you believe things were going to be okay. Not because she ignored the hardship, but because she chose optimism anyway. She chose to look for what was good, what was possible, and what was worth loving. Nene loved fiercely, openly, and without hesitation. As a mother, Renee poured herself into love. The kind of love that shows up every day, that sacrifices quietly, that cheers loudly, that believes deeply. Her children were and are her heart. Walking around outside her body, and she made sure they felt safe, valued, and endlessly loved. As a sister, she was constant. Someone you could lean on, laugh with, or just sit in silence beside. She had a way of making you feel understood, even when you didn't have the words yet. She didn't just listen, she saw you. She believed in second chances. She believed tomorrow could be better than today. She believed that kindness mattered, and she lived that belief. Even when things were hard, Renee looked for the light. And if she couldn't find it, she became the light for somebody else. It was the excessively ordinary things that made Renee so beautiful. There are billions of people who now know her name, and it would be so easy to fall into the false belief that great heroic things are required to overcome difficult things in the world. But as Tolkien wrote, it is the small, everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keep the darkness at bay. Small acts of kindness and love. That's why the image of dandelions feels so right. People try to pull them up, overlook them, dismiss them, but they keep coming back, stronger, brighter, spreading seeds of hope everywhere they land. Renee planted those seeds in all of us. In her children, in her family.
Sad, guys. This is sad. Renee Good's brothers speaking on her life,
And
guys.
friends, coworkers, and people who maybe didn't even realize they needed her light at the time. And sunlight. Sunlight doesn't ask for recognition. It just gives. It warms, it nurtures, it helps things grow. Renee did that for us. She helped us grow. She helped us believe in ourselves. She helped us see the good, even when life felt heavy. Renee is not gone from us. She's in the light that finds us on hard days. She's in the resilience we didn't know we had until we needed it. She's in the laughter, the memories, the love that continues to grow. Like dandelions, like sunlight, and like Renee. Thank you.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay up.
Sad, man. A very emotional response to the unaliving of their sister, guys. You know what I'm saying? Whether you agree with what happened or don't, you gotta admit it's very sad, man. You know, prayers to her family and her kids, guys. All right, so we got another situation going on here, guys. To where I find out about a missing mom, guys. I think it's a news anchor lady. Her mom came up missing. Nancy Guthrie. You know, into where it's something. It's so crazy, y'all. They done sent a ransom note to the family about getting her back, guys. So this has been some breaking news I've been seeing going around as well. You know, when it comes to Nancy Guthrie, guys. It's crazy. They sent a ransom note and everything. Check this out.
Disappearance of her mother, who police now believe was kidnapped from her home. Guthrie writing on Instagram, quote, "We believe in prayer. We believe in voices raised in unison."
I'm seeing that they saying that her son-in-law is a person of interest, guys. Wow.
In love and hope. We believe in goodness. We believe in humanity. Above all, we believe in him. We need you. Bring her home. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was last seen Saturday evening after family members dropped her off at her home in Arizona. Sunday morning, a churchgoer realized Nancy missed service and alerted her family, who then called the police. By Sunday night, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos declared Nancy Guthrie's home a crime scene, and on Monday they confirmed suspicion of a possible abduction.
It is our belief she was removed from that home against her will. We hope.
Whoa!
We're racing the clock here. You said that earlier. Her meds are important, and the family has told us 24 hours without those meds could be fatal. And here we are at 30 plus hours or more.
Former homicide detective Brian Foley joins me now. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. The details here are so concerning because we're talking about somebody who's so extremely vulnerable, and police say they believe that she was abducted from her bed. What stands out to you about the details we know so far?
You know, for the police to say that, they don't say someone was abducted lightly. So they're saying that, you know, as a cop walking into a crime scene, a homicide detective in there, where's the pocketbook? That's the first thing I'm looking at. Moms don't, we all have moms, they don't leave the house without the pocketbook. Is the pocketbook there? Were there valuables taken? Is there signs of forced entry into the home? Is there blood evidence on the scene? All of those things, I think, are certainly a possibility at this point. The way that the police department's talking right now, it's going to be the crime scene is going to have a lot of forensic value, especially taken from the bed. But what gets to me the most is you see across this country historically, as a homicide detective, you see elderly people attacked in their home, be it a burglary gone bad, something along those lines where they end up killed. The removal from the home is something you typically don't see with an elderly person. That strikes me as incredibly odd and something to focus on.
So yeah, focus on that for us. They haven't said if there was a ransom note or if there could be possible money attached to this, but they did say that they do not believe this was a home invasion or robbery gone wrong. And they also said that Sheriff Nanos also said that they don't believe that Nancy Guthrie was targeted because of her daughter's fame.
So what does that lead you to believe, if this was an abduction, about who could have possibly done this and what the motive was?
You know,
or is.
You can't necessarily ignore the fact of the celebrity connection. But if they're saying that, there's something to give them indication of that. You know, but you always look at what the cops are saying and what they're not saying. They're not telling the other elderly folks in that community or in this state there to be careful, to lock your doors, keep your lights on, stay in touch with a loved one. They're not saying that stuff at all right now. So what that tells me is that they have indications that lead them to believe that this is targeted. But at the same time, you know, where are the credit cards? Were their valuables taken? It sounds like there weren't in this case. They'd be saying that there was valuables stolen if that were the case.
Yeah, and when asked what is leading law enforcement to believe that this was a kidnapping, Sheriff Nona said, and this is a quote, "Something that they told me about the scene made me believe this is more than just a missing person." He also said, he talked about how the scene indicated that she was removed against her will. So read into that crime scene for us and give us a sense of what he may be referring to.
Signs of a struggle. End of discussion. There's signs of a struggle. Number one. Number two, you're going to get the family in there. The family is going to be able to look at the home and essentially tell you what's out of place, what's odd, is there something knocked over. These sort of things would never happen. You know, my mother's a very clean person, very orderly, but now there's this disarray in there. Again, the pocketbook, you know, is there a car? I mean, they're not talking about any of that stuff missing. That does make it seem like it's targeted, possibly somebody that knew of her. Or
so do you think it could have possibly been a caregiver? I feel like that's what a lot of people's minds go to when something like this could have happened, or a family member of somebody who worked at the house.
They saying the son-in-law allegedly is a person.
What I like to do as a homicide detective, who's out, who's got out of prison, who's out of parole, who has a history of violence, who are the sex offenders, that have gotten out recently. Kind of look at those patterns too, connect with the Department of Correction and who's getting out. It could go anywhere right now. We're at post 48 hours now after the crime.
Yes.
Cops are struggling. It's so painful for the family to understand. Plus there's the medication fact to it too. Again, removing an elderly person from the home, that takes effort. That takes planning, and this neighborhood is secluded. It's not like houses are stacked up on top of each other. There's not going to be a lot of ring camera evidence in the immediate area, so it's going to be a challenge for the police that are there. They did put the homicide team in there. That's great that they got them in there early. You want, the homicide detectives is typically the varsity team. Pima County has a lot of homicides per year that they investigate, so they're going to have that experience to do it. Hopefully they bring in other resources as well at the state level, maybe federal level, just to start doing surveillance.
And final question, when it comes to the timeline of all of this, it did feel like that Nancy Guthrie has a community of people and a lot of loved ones surrounding her. She was dropped off by family members at her home on Saturday night, and then churchgoers the next day on Sunday said, she always goes to this mass. She wasn't here, and immediately called a family member who then contacted police. Do you think that timeline, it wasn't days or weeks, it was, less than 12 hours, potentially could help in getting her back?
Hopefully it helps in providing answers. Unfortunately, these things have a history of not ending too well. That's why our elderly are our most vulnerable population, and that's why as humans we all like to keep an eye on our elderly loved ones and hope that God, something like this never happens. So painful.
Yeah, and that's why her daughter and her family and everybody who's heard about this story and has a mother and a father and is concerned and can relate is giving up to God to pray for a positive outcome.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. This is a crazy story, guys. They basically tracked her pacemaker, right? Because that would give them a clue to whether or not she is alive, guys. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Check. Hold on. Let's go here.
Be hopeful that we find her safe and sound. But there is...
She is the mom of NBC's Today Show host, Savannah Guthrie. Fox News confirming new information in the case. Listen to this. The last time Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker was synced with her Apple devices was Sunday morning, and investigators discovered blood inside her home. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. The Pima County, Arizona Sheriff confirming Nancy Guthrie may have been kidnapped from her bed. But he has designated 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie's Tucson home a crime scene. They did that pretty early on, although no details why they suspect abduction. Here's the sheriff.
It is our belief she was removed from that home against her will. We're racing the clock here. The family has told us 24 hours without those meds could be fatal. And here we are at 30 plus hours and more. We never give up hope. We'll always be hopeful that we find her safe and sound. But there is a side of this that we just can't ignore when we see things in front of us.
Let's jump into the timeline now. Nancy Guthrie was last seen Saturday night around 9:30, 9:45 after a dinner with her family. Her church alerted the family when she did not show up the next morning for Sunday service. They then did their own search, we are told by the Sheriff's Department during that news conference we carried live during this hour yesterday. The family searched and then contacted police to report her missing. And the timeline there was between 11 and noon. They did their own. By noon, the Sheriff's Department was in. The sheriff will not rule out foul play in this case. We knew that very early on as you look at the timeline. And yesterday he confirmed criminal activity at the home and also announced an abduction possibly of Nancy Guthrie. Former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker is coming up with me in focus. Let's begin with senior correspondent Alicia Acuna outside Nancy Guthrie's home in Tucson.
Hi, Harris. You mentioned that Fox News Digital reporting that pacemaker last synced with the Apple devices around 2 a.m. We also
Can we get 40 more likes, guys? Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device or click those three dots. Hit that thumbs up, guys. We need 40 more likes, guys, to hit 300. Double tap that screen if you don't mind. If you're on a mobile device or click those three dots and hit that thumbs up as we find out more of what happened with Nancy Guthrie, guys.
Understand, according to Fox News Digital, that those Apple devices were still in the home, the Apple Watch still on its charger at the time. Keep in mind, this is the last time that Nancy Guthrie was seen was in the evening of Saturday when the family dropped her off at her home after dinner. Now, we want to give you a better idea of what this neighborhood looks like and a sense of where she lives. We are in the northeast part of Tucson in the Catalina foothills. Harris, I know you're very familiar with this area. You can see this area, which has many nice homes. It's also spaced out a bit when it comes to homes in proximity. We have been told that neighbors have been asked to turn any door camera footage into authorities, and we understand that is happening. Now, back here on the street, Harris, and with that in mind, I want to give folks a look at the street we're talking about. So you can see it's a beautiful street, lots of desert vegetation, a lot of cactus. What you can't tell is that there are actually quite a few homes, and that's by design. They're set into the back. What you also don't see, Harris, are lamps. You don't have lights here in the street. We were here at 3:30 this morning. It was pitch black. Part of that is local ordinance dealing with light pollution and such, but you really can't see anything. So the question is now, what do those door cameras hold? What were they able to see in the middle of the night in this already dark place?
It's like something out of a movie.
Wait and see. One other thing, Fox Digital now confirming the Los Angeles Times reporting that there was blood found in the house. Fox News Digital now saying that it was just maybe a drop or two of blood just outside the home. We are still waiting for another update from the Sheriff's Department.
Blood outside
Look,
the
I
home.
saw you taking that walk very early, starting out
They
on
say
Fox
they
and Friends this
believe
morning.
she
And I
was-
thought it was so important
she
for
was
you to mention
snatched
that
up
because
out the bed.
after the sheriff spent a good amount of time during that news conference yesterday, just avid about how much they need technology and camera footage and check your ring bell and all of that. I thought about that. And I mean, the Skyline Drive area is pretty pitch black until the sun creeps up. I mean, there are not even a lot of security lights that are on unless you're moving around a lot. So otherwise, because there's so much wildlife up there, mountain lions and javelina, things would be going off suddenly. So you don't have that. They're positioned in such a way, the motion sensors for most homes, so that they don't keep going off. So even those cannot turn on lights repeatedly because of all the animal movement. It is a tough area to find someone in, but we'll continue to watch it to see if maybe she was taken outside that area. Alicia, great reporting today. Thank you. Nicole Parker, former FBI Special Agent, Fox News contributor, is with me now. There is a detail in this that I want to know about. So a pacemaker sync on Sunday morning. That was the last time that it was synced with Apple devices. The Apple devices, the charger that they were connected to, all still left in the home. The pacemaker, obviously, with Nancy, in Nancy. So what does this tell you in terms of the timeline?
This is a huge piece of evidence that has just been broken. And I think that that is what this case will come down to, is technology. And the fact that the pacemaker was no longer there and able to sync to the devices, that is extremely crucial. I think another thing that law enforcement will be looking at was that, were there any other devices that were attempting to, when you go into an area and it says, would you like to sync to this Wi-Fi? I'm sure that they'll be checking to see if the intruder brought any of their own.
All right, they say 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was reported missing from a home near Tucson, Arizona, after not showing up to church on Sunday, February 1st, 2026. She was last seen the evening before at her residence. Says law enforcement believes that she was taken against her will. Investigators are treating the home as a crime scene and suspect abduction. Her cell phone, car, and other personal items remained at the home, guys. And she has limited mobility and critical daily medications, raising urgent concerns for her safety.
Own devices to see if anything hit routers, to see if they can backtrack in that way as well. But I think it's important to note, victim selection in this case was extremely deliberate. This is not by chance. We know that the most vulnerable members of society are children and the elderly. And I just keep going back to, again, a very different case, a very different motive for sure. But Elizabeth Smart, she was, abducted from her home in 2002 in the dead of night, with her little sister present. This is obviously different. It's an elderly woman, though, who is also equally as vulnerable. We know that there are pictures of her with her sweet daughter, Savannah, with a walking cane. The individual knew that she did not have the ability to defend herself. She is an elderly individual. They are most vulnerable, and it is not by chance. And the fact that the home is in such an area where it is set back from the street, no street lights, very difficult for anyone to track if someone was there. They're set on an acre of land with vegetation surrounding them. It's not like the Brown case where Ring doorbell cameras can capture, things in a very more urban area. It's going to be difficult for law enforcement, but do not underestimate the power of over 1,000 leads and tips that have come into law enforcement. They will be checking license plate readers in the surrounding streets and areas, because remember, this woman was taken from her home and had to have been transported in some way. Maybe not the exact neighborhood. If they turned down the lights, there were no lights, not a lot of cameras captured it. But even the surrounding streets and neighborhoods, law enforcement will be checking every single surveillance camera in that area in that time frame. And now you have the 2 a.m. time frame that helps them narrow in on when this actually occurred.
Yeah, and I mean, when you talk about, and Alicia did such a great job of showing that all morning long, the recessed positioning of a lot of those houses, it does give you a beautiful look at they're in the Saguaro National Forest, just above where this is at North Campbell and Skyline Drive. So when you look at that, you can't see a neighbor's porch from a neighbor's porch, because everything is recessed back. And it is, these cacti are huge. These are not just baby ones that were built with new construction. And so all of that matters, because to keep an eye on each other as neighbors, you'd have to be on the street. Your last quick thought about just searching outside of this area. How does this work typically? Because they've been at this property. So what's next?
So what's next is they're, again, going to continue to pour through all of the evidence. The cell phone was there on site. Law enforcement will be going into that. We know that there was no ransom note left. There's no ransom demand based on what law enforcement has told us. And so, again, they will be relying on the tips of the individuals in the neighborhood and the cameras, license plate readers, and also interviews. We cannot underestimate the power of human intelligence in the interviews. Who are the caretakers? Who are the people? The mailman, the pest control person, who knew that she lived in this home by herself? We know that Savannah Guthrie had her mother on set with her on the Today Show, and recently in November was even in Tucson with her mother on air. Who knew that? Was Savannah herself the target of something? Was there someone who had a grievance with Savannah? We do not yet know that, but I do know for a fact that law enforcement is assisting. We've got FBI, CBP, local, state law enforcement, all hands on deck. And most of all, Harris, the power of prayer.
That's right.
She has begged and pleaded for prayer. And I'll tell you, I have used prayer so many times in my investigations. It matters.
It does matter. You and I have talked every facet of life, but particularly when something has gone so gravely wrong. As far as we know, they will find her, but right now we don't know. Nicole, thank you. There's been a development as well. 11:30 Arizona time, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, because there's just a 2-hour difference this time of the year. They haven't kicked up to being a 3-hour difference. Usually it's that, but they don't observe daylight saving there. So at 11:30 a.m. Arizona time, the Sheriff's Department now is going to give a brand new news conference and an update.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno.
All right, so like I said, I know I wasn't tripping. I know I seen something about a ransom note. I know I did. I had, man, it said something about a ransom note. There you go. That's why I said it. Check this out.
The sheriff would not confirm the act. Hello, and thank you for joining us. The Pima County Sheriff has confirmed to CBS News they received a ransom note related to the apparent abduction of Nancy
So how you gonna say it ain't no ransom note and then they saying they did get a ransom note? Which one is it?
Confirmed to CBS News they received a ransom note related to the apparent abduction of Nancy Guthrie. The note contains specific details of what Nancy, the mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie, was wearing Saturday night when she is believed to have been taken, although the sheriff would not confirm the accuracy of that information. Our crews also took this video, which appears to show drops of blood on her doorstep of her home, but it's unclear whose blood it may be. Detectives collected DNA samples from the home that have been confirmed to belong to Nancy, but the sheriff has not confirmed whether those samples were blood. The local sheriff said the investigation is ongoing, warning reporters during a press conference today the department is still waiting for evidence to be processed to get more answers.
We gathered all the evidence we could, to include looking for what? Fingerprints, DNA, camera images, everything you can imagine. And we gathered that out. Those things have been submitted forward to labs, to technological companies to help us. And we're like you. We're waiting for those returns.
If there's a ransom note, somebody most definitely got her. You know what I'm saying? Whether she's alive or not, that's a different thing. But if it's a ransom note, somebody most definitely had to write that. Somebody kidnapped her.
Come back.
CBS News reporter Andres Gutierrez joins me now from outside the Guthrie home. What more have we learned?
Well, Lindsay, the Pima County Sheriff told Jonathan Vigliotti that ransom note was sent to a local television station late last night. They ended up sharing it with investigators, but chose not to make it public. The sheriff said that note did include specific details about the home and what Nancy Guthrie was wearing that night. He would not confirm whether that information is accurate, but the FBI reviewed that note and made a decision to share it with Savannah Guthrie nearly 20 hours after receiving it and analyzing it. The sheriff says they are taking this note very seriously. Authorities had hoped to keep it from becoming public, but that same note was later sent to TMZ, which then reported on it before contacting the sheriff's office. We here at CBS News need to emphasize the note's authenticity has not been verified. As for the surveillance video, the sheriff's office...
It says that the report note... Hold up, let me get back to it. The reported note demanded a substantial amount of money, reportedly in the millions, to be paid in Bitcoin to Pacific cryptocurrency addresses in exchange for the safe return of Nancy, guys. So they wanted money in the millions. Oh, wow.
Said that they have not produced anything productive, helpful so far. Investigators believe the system may have been set to automatically delete footage after a short period of time, and now they're attempting to recover that video using forensic tools. As you noted, we did observe some small amounts of blood outside the front door of the house here. Again, the sheriff was asked over at the press conference earlier today about that blood, and he says that they have sent DNA evidence over to the lab and they have received some results, but those results haven't told him who did this. He also stressed that that forensic work overall takes some time and they still don't have the answers for that, and they're still waiting for more information to come back. Lindsay.
Andres Gutierrez, thank you. Anna Schechter joins me now. She's a senior coordinating producer for CBS News' Crime and Public Safety Unit. The story just gets more and more distressing. So the Pima County Sheriff Department told our Jonathan Vigliotti that they were trying to keep the information of this ransom note from going public, but it leaked. Why would they want to do that, to prevent it from going public?
Well, they want to figure out the best course of action. This is a complex situation, potentially a complex negotiation, and you don't want a lot of noise.
Is this a
influencing
movie?
the outcome when you want to have as much control over the situation as possible from a law enforcement perspective. So they were not happy that this information leaked out, but then they felt they had to put out there that they are taking this seriously, and every tip, including that one, went to the
So they
FBI.
said they try to basically keep it hush hush. It seems that TMZ leaked some of the information on this situation, like reporting on the ransom note. Maybe that's why they said at first it wasn't now.
And their detectives were working closely together.
Any other information that you gleaned from Jonathan's interview with Sheriff Nanos?
Well, all this around the note is really extraordinary. And so it was great to have Jonathan there asking him about it. But in terms of the surveillance video in the house, we learned that actually it would tape over and wouldn't save in a way that's easy to obtain the video. So the surveillance video from inside her home right now is not helpful. But what I think is going to be even more helpful, because in a funny way, it almost doesn't matter what happened in the house. What matters is finding them and getting the make and model of the vehicle that she was taken away in is key to finding them, because that way a multi-state coordinated investigation can kick in where they're looking for one vehicle.
The sheriff's office says that their next briefing is going to be Thursday morning. What does that tell you?
Well, they're trying to space this out. I don't want to read too much into why. They might want to just keep things more contained. It might be that the FBI didn't want to have so much information coming out through the sheriff's department in those multiple interviews and talking to different reporters, including myself. They definitely made public that they want to kind of pull things back and take more time before they make any public statements. But it also tells me that potentially they have more leads to go on and they want to focus all their effort on pursuing those and not taking the time to hold these briefings.
All right, you've been working this at all hours of the day. We appreciate you staying for us. Thank you.
Let's go. So that's why I'm glad that I said allegedly a while ago when they said something about the suspect being the son-in-law. Because according to the news so far, it says there are no identified suspects or persons of interest in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Rumors or reports naming potential suspects have been denied or unsubstantiated by law enforcement. So there are no persons of interest at this moment, which means somebody, whoever came here earlier, lied, talking about it was the son-in-law that they thought was the one that did this. But to make it make a little more sense, let's get Nancy off of here. Nancy, break it down for me. Shout out to Nancy Grace.
It's from the door.
As reported at the top of the hour, there were some shocking new developments today. Joining us now with our coverage, the host of Crime Stories, Nancy Grace, is with us, the one and only. Nancy, taken out of her home against her will, abduction. Now, I'm sure that Harvey Levin, would not ever publish anything that's not true. I've known him a long time. Apparently there is a ransom letter. You have studied crime your entire life. What do you see here?
I see a lot, and it's developing very quickly. I agree with you about Levin. I do not believe what he said is fabricated. Also, the alleged ransom note went not only to TMZ, it also went to KOLD, a local outlet. Apparently, it's the same exact ransom note. Now, that's interesting. That's what we're being told. It's coming out in drops and dribbles. What I'm telling you is what we're learning from sources, okay? It's all got to be corroborated. But if it's the same exact letter, that means it's not a lot of people writing ransom notes here and there. It's a coordinated effort. Does that mean it's real? Don't know yet. But about the ransom note, Sean, it allegedly had information in it regarding what Mrs. Guthrie was wearing at the time she was kidnapped, abducted. That has not been released. I've been thinking about what was she wearing.
She had gotten home from her church event on Saturday night. She was brought home. She got home 9:45 p.m. By 11 a.m. the next day, she's such a faithful church goer. When they looked around and went, hey, Nancy's not here, they immediately called her family. The family was over there shortly after 11. Mom, gone. Was she wearing her PJs? Had she had time to change? I'm curious. Why do I care? I care because if she's still wearing the clothes that she came home in, that means the perp was watching her, waiting on her to get home. This is not random.
Let's go, Nancy.
Even a non-legal eagle could figure that out. It's not like he's coming by to get the VCR and, oh, there's a lady. I think I will take her. So you've got the ransom note. Allegedly wanting millions of dollars in Bitcoin. And I believe that Bitcoin account has been authenticated. It's a real account. That doesn't mean that the ransom note is real.
Nancy, let me ask you
That's what we
this.
know about the ransom note. 2 notes. Yes.
Okay,
I want
what
to get to the
scares
blood.
we'll get to the blood. I can't imagine an 84-year-old woman had enemies. I just can't imagine that under any circumstances. Church-going woman, from what I read and what I understand, which then leads to the obvious conclusion one would go to, which is they targeted somebody because, in this case, her daughter was in the public eye and famous, and probably assumed that she may have some money. That should be chilling to everybody in the country.
Extremely. This is an 84-year-old grandma that cannot walk further than 50 yards. She has mobility issues. That's the best. That's on her best day. She can walk 50 yards. Now, this got me very upset. You know, my 94-year-old mother lives with me. And the thought of somebody taking her in the middle of the night, there is blood. At first, we couldn't confirm what type of DNA it was, just that it is Nancy Guthrie's DNA. And I've looked at the blood. It's from the door going out to the driveway. And it looks to be, to me, free falling, low velocity droplets. Free falling, as in dropping from a nosebleed, low velocity, not from a weapon hitting her or a gunshot wound, which would be high velocity or mist or spatter. Low velocity, free falling droplets, like from a bloody nose. Now, we know she has a pacemaker. Is she on blood thinner, which would make her bleed more if she was even slapped? So I'm trying not to read anything worse into that than it already is, such as a gunshot wound or a stab. I'm hoping that my analysis of a free falling low velocity droplet is correct. But that tells me the path in which she went from the house to what? A car. Now, you can't tell me in that community, everybody doesn't have Ring doorbell cams. There has to be some surveillance of the car that took her, period. Another thing I'm learning is apparently there is video somewhere in that home. However, it's server-based, not in the cloud. And we've heard reports that it tapes over every 8 hours. Can't confirm that yet. If that's true, it's going to be HELL trying to recreate it. And that's being worked on right now. So you've got a ransom note, an alleged ransom note, 2 of them, and you've got blood droplets and trying to get the video. Also, Sean, the foot search had been called off, but now, as you and I go to air right now, apparently there are helicopters coming back in the area and they are retracing their steps. And I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, well, the one thing I will say, I do have a lot of faith in professional hostage negotiators. The IT capability of our law enforcement is superb. Our forensic guys are superb. Not a lot to go on. One last thing, apparently, she had a ringtone camera, and they ripped that out, knowing that that would be the first thing they looked at. That tells me it's premeditated. Last thought.
Pre-planning, and I would start looking not in her inner circle, such as her family, but beyond. Who's cutting the grass? Who worked in the yard? Who worked on the road last week? Who trims the trees? Who's the grocery store clerk? And out and out and out, somebody that goes, hey, that's Savannah Guthrie's mom. Let's take her. I know Savannah. She's a wonderful, wonderful and loving person. And I am praying for
She
her
is.
and her family and her mother tonight. And I hope you join me, Sean.
I totally join you. Amen to that. And
Yeah, so Nancy's gonna be on the case, guys. She gonna get to the bottom of it. I guarantee it. Don't nobody break it down like Nancy. I like Nancy. Nancy most definitely break it down how she break it down. Don't nobody break it down like Nancy. Now, when it comes to the suspect aspect, I most definitely seen where some YouTubers and things of that nature were saying that the son-in-law was a person of interest, but that's not being reported by any news agency so far. You know, they still say no person of interest yet. That's what they saying. So that could be fake news, or it could be somebody with an inside scoop. But as far as the mainstream media, I haven't seen anything yet that implicates the son-in-law.
In Tucson, Arizona, where Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, still missing right now. Investigators have held 2 news conferences earlier this week.
Okay, I see something that says a report circulated claiming that Savannah Guthrie brother-in-law might be considered a prime suspect. However, authorities have denied their report in I can't even see that word. They have no suspect at the time. Related to the people or whatever, relayed that they have no suspects at this time.
Notifying the public that they were signs of forced entry at that Arizona home and that she was, quote, taken against her will. That's what they believe. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos urged whoever took Guthrie to return her immediately, stating that she could die without some critical medication. While a motive remains a mystery, the Pima County Sheriff's Department is also reviewing alleged ransom notes, including a note sent to our Scripps News Group affiliate, KGUN. And right now I'm being told in my ear, we're going to bring in our guest for this hour, joining us from Tucson, Scripps News Group in Phoenix, Adam Minzer. So you're there, boots on the ground. You've been covering the case. There are reports of a possibly family member involved in this abduction, just reports at this point in time. How are police responding to those claims?
Yes, Matt, we actually got a statement from the Pima County Sheriff just a short while ago saying that they have no suspects in custody and they have none identified, putting to rest a lot of the rumors that have been circulating online this morning. But at the same time, that interest in
this report right here came from an hour ago. So this is like one of the most recent updates on this entire thing. This dropped an hour ago, guys.
the story is really only growing and those rumors seem to be circulating. I've been talking to neighbors, they're hearing them. But again, the facts, as you just mentioned them right there a few moments ago, we do know an 84-year-old woman was taken from her home at some point over the weekend, and it's been nearly 4 days of investigations, and we are still don't have a suspect in custody, don't have one identified that law enforcement are telling us about right now.
Yeah, and there are several alleged ransom notes that have surfaced, including one with...
They said several alleged ransom notes. So people are doing copycat ransom notes. What's going on?
Scripps News Group Tucson that has been turned over, and one with TMZ that they reported. What have we learned?
Yes, for right now, what Scripps News Group is doing, we sent that over to law enforcement, to the FBI, to make sure that they have everything that they need, but we have not been able to verify anything that was in that note. What I can say about those alleged potential ransom notes is that they did include threats to kill Miss Guthrie if no information was provided by Thursday. Very sorry, just kind of making sure I'm aware of our environment. We are outside one of the homes related to the Guthries right now, so I'm trying to make sure that while we're on the ground here, we're seeing the latest. But to what you were saying about the note, the threat was for Thursday that the Guthries would be on Thursday, if nothing were to happen, no information were to come forward, or no information, let me correct myself, if someone doesn't send about millions of dollars in crypto money to this alleged ransomer, they threatened to kill Nancy Guthrie. So a very, very harsh threat, one that law enforcement says that they're taking seriously, but at the same time, there's so much tips, evidence, and different things that have been coming to light. The note does reference 2 specific pieces of evidence from the crime scene, but at this point, we have not been able to verify anything within it, Matt.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on at the crime scene right now behind you, right? It's an active scene. There's a lot of people moving cars
I'll
behind
actually stop you right there.
Yeah.
When you mentioned crime scene, that we haven't seen caution tape, we haven't seen investigations. There aren't law enforcement in front of these homes that were
They ain't put up no yellow tape. They haven't seen no caution, no nothing. They said, man, that's crazy. I would think that police would be all over the property.
talking about. So that's actually one of the really curious things at the center of all of this, which is kind of the investigation itself. Where is it? Where is it located? Because kind of these physical locations where we usually see a lot of police activity, a lot of deputies out front, a lot of crime tape, that we aren't seeing those right now.
Yeah, and we're looking at photographs of what could be possible blood. We know that the Pima County Sheriff, they've taken some swabs or potential DNA that's being tested. What have we learned about that? It's really interesting that you mentioned that there is no crime scene tape, because there should be around that home. And we're also hearing reports that cameras have gone missing. So what's the mood like in front of the homes there?
Yeah, I'll say a couple things on that note, whether or not there should or shouldn't be a crime scene. We do know investigators turned over the home to the family. We learned that in one of those earlier news conferences. So they're telling us that they only need to come into the homes, the relevant homes, if the investigation leads them here, saying that they have no more evidence that they need to gather. You're talking about that substance that was right next to actually the front doormat of the home that appears to be blood. We have not confirmed whether that is blood, what that substance is. We've been told that things have been sent for testing, but we don't know specifically that this was sent for testing, and we don't know specifically whose blood that is, if it is indeed blood.
Adam Mintzer with KNXV, thanks so much for taking the time and updating us. I know that there's a lot of moving parts right now, and we're learning details up to the minute, so thank you, and stay safe out there. Joining me here in studio, trial attorney Lisa Bonner. Your initial thoughts on this, and there may not be ransom notes connected to the case. It's kind of weird, one sent to a local affiliate, but then another one that we possibly know about is TMZ. I mean, the connection here, what's your thoughts?
This is something that is kind of all over the place, right? They're not really giving us a lot of information. Like you said, is it a crime scene or isn't it? Yeah. Was she taken against her will? Was a family member involved? There's so much speculation, and the detectives and the FBI investigators are all really holding their cards very close to the vest, which leads me to believe that they know a lot more that they are leading on, because they're not really disseminating so much information. They're of course asking for tips, of course, but they're not really giving us the information that we would need to piece this together. So I do believe that there may be some, I'm simply speculating, but based on everything the way the chips are falling, it seems like they do know more than they are letting on, for sure. And in instances like this, where this is such a random victim, why Savannah Guthrie's mother?
Right.
Why? So in instances like this, it's generally someone that you know that is involved. So I would not be surprised if it may have been a family member like they're discussing on TMZ. It's a lot that they're not telling us, which means they know more, and this seems to be a little bit hitting closer to home.
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, there's just so many questions as to why this potential victim, 84-year-old woman, was she targeted because of her daughter's celebrity? And then these alleged ransom notes asking for Bitcoin, millions of dollars. Otherwise, they're going to kill this victim. And you know what? They also put a specific date on it, according to some of the reporting out there, that the Bitcoin needs to be received by Thursday, which kind of perked my ears, because I've been covering this story for the past couple days, and I covered the news conference yesterday where authorities said this, if we can play it.
Look, I know you guys are doing your job, and you're doing a great job, but we have a job to do too, and I really need to back away from this for a while, and we'll see you, unless something breaks, we'll see you Thursday morning. PIO will give you a time frame, I'm guessing somewhere around 11:30.
That's it. And then he walks out of the room. So what really, you didn't think anything of it. I was just like, oh, that's kind of weird. They're skipping over Wednesday today because they've been giving the news media a lot of access and answering a lot of questions daily with daily news briefings, right? And then they say nothing until Thursday. I'm not thinking anything of it. And then the news starts to surface that TMZ was reporting that they received that note. And then we learned through the Scripps News affiliate that they received a similar note, possibly, where they used Thursday in the wording of that note. So to your point, we just don't know what we don't know at this point in time, right? And I think that that's probably important for these investigators as they work towards getting a suspect and resolving this, hopefully bringing her home.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. They, again, this is just such a random victim. Savannah is America's sweetheart. She is the least controversial person that I could think of. I don't have to ever like to count anybody's money, but it's not like she is a Elon Musk or a billionaire of sorts. I mean, so it's just weird. And then I went on her Facebook page and I looked at Nancy Guthrie's Facebook page. She was liberal leaning, but nothing out of the ordinary. So this is just such a random victim, which again leads to believe that she may have known and there is something else involved. And to skip a day of testimony, of briefing.
Updates,
yeah, it's just, okay, so what are you guys doing? What are you not telling us? I do believe they know a lot more, and I think it's going to break tomorrow.
You've been in the true crime space and on the law side for so many years, and I just think that it's also unusual that the home hasn't been secured, or at least the front of the home.
What is that about?
That's
crazy. You said it. It's a crime scene, and the reporter said, no, it's not. There is no tape. It's not cordoned off. So it means if I wanted to go up and snoop around, I could do so. So you are tainting the crime, the area where her home where she was taken. It makes no sense to me. That's why there's so much going on. Like I said, they're not telling us. I do believe that they have some serious and important leads in this case that they're not discussing.
And even though they said Thursday, tomorrow, they said that they'll break in and let us know if they have any other updates. So we are standing by. We have resources there, boots on the ground, and we're going to be following this case. Thank you for your thoughts on that.
We do believe that Nancy was taken from her home.
The motive remains a mystery. The Pima County Sheriff's Department is also reviewing. Yeah, and
I want to go here. So yeah, man, it's seeming like, man, there's some form of some ransom notes being made for Miss Guthrie, Miss Nancy Guthrie, guys. There was blood outside, no police presence at all. I wonder if one of the ransom notes said the police got to stay away or something. I don't know, but they're demanding millions of dollars for this woman's return, and they want the millions of dollars in cryptocurrency. I mean, this is crazy, like something out of movie. They done kidnapped, somebody mama / grandma, 84-year-old woman, can barely move around, man. They done took her and are holding her for ransom. I don't know what that's all about, but it's most definitely happening, guys, according to the news. I told y'all about Trump being heated, over the release, over reporters asked him about the Epstein files. Still, he said, man, y'all need to find y'all something else to talk about. Tom Homan is over there in Minnesota. He's most definitely said that he's looking to withdraw 700 troops from Minnesota, and that they would do a full, back off and leave from there if people have to cooperate with what they have going on, man, before he'll pull all the troops out. And then we talked about Kristi Noem. They don't like her handling of the ICE situation either. They looking to get her impeached or make her lose her job. One of the two. They say she's not qualified for her position, guys. I'm just saying. Yeah, man, it's a lot going on, man. It is a lot going on. in the news, man. But I most definitely keep y'all updated as they keep me updated. I hope you guys like the show. Double tap that screen if you have not. You know, if you're on a mobile device, can we get the likes to 400, man? Can we, everybody who haven't hit the like button, can y'all double tap that screen for your boy if you're on a mobile device, or click those 3 dots and hit that thumbs up. It would be greatly appreciated, and it most definitely helps out the channel, man. Shout out to all of my old subscribers and my new subscribers. Become a new subscriber today. Subscribe to the channel, man. Thank you for all the gifts. I most definitely appreciate those as well. You know, and like I said, as they keep me updated on all these situations, I'll keep y'all updated. You know, shout out to all of my members, the new ones as well as the old ones. If you're looking to grab you a membership, all you have to do is go to my homepage and click join, guys, as well. Most definitely shout out to all of my moderators. I appreciate each and every one of y'all for keeping this show running smooth. Sometimes I don't know what I'd do without y'all, man, but I most definitely appreciate y'all. So y'all stay safe out there. Until I see y'all again, y'all know it's time for me to check out. Sidewalk Gang, checking out. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all stay safe, man. Turn your notification bell to all so you don't miss nothing when everything news goes live. I'm out of here, guys.